So last night I saw the film Limitless was on the TV, and I decided to give it a watch. But I remember when it first came out, and I read the synopsis, I saw the posters for it, and I just thought, it's just going to be another bog standard thriller, really not really worth going to the cinema to see. So I didn't bother. But when I did watch it, I ended up pleasantly surprised actually for some of the aspects of the film. In some respects, it was just going through the motions that a thriller would go through, but in other respects, it was quite interesting. So to understand what I mean by this, let's go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Limitless. So first of all, the good. Now, as I said, I did start watching this film with fairly low expectations, to be honest. I really just expected a bog standard thriller, and I just wanted to watch half of it before I went to bed or something. It certainly has some interesting aspects. I mean, first and foremost, it is a very cool concept and a very cool idea. There isn't just simply this pill that gives you superpowers. It does actually this concept that you can really unlock the full potential of your mind, and that you can access every single memory that you ever have. I mean, obviously, I know it could never work in real life, and you have to suspend your disbelief a bit to go with the plot. But that's not really the problem. I still think it's a very cool concept. And the other thing is that that concept was very well developed. I think all the different, well, some of the different ideas you would get. There'll be a limited amount of this drug. What if other people had it? What if other people wanted it? How it would affect you, and those kind of thoughts you have, like if it did have long-term effects, would you still take it just for the short-term benefits that the drug would give to you? How would you balance it out? And I think some of these films that do start off with good ideas, but then just sort of don't really develop them properly and just focus on standard thriller fare. This one really wasn't one of those. I also, in particular, when it talks about bringing these ideas to full potential, I did like the fact that the character, even though he was very intelligent, his brain was hyperactive. He wasn't necessarily logical in his decisions. His emotions were still there because it didn't just turn him to this sort of thinking machine that was super intelligent. Because he could still make bad decisions simply because his emotions were still taking control of what he was doing too. And that was good because I think the film could have gone wrong there and just sort of made him this essentially this superhero type character, but it didn't. I also particularly enjoyed the way the binge sequences were filmed, like the sequences when the character takes too much of the drug and basically starts to lose control of it and just goes on these wild wanders where you can't remember what's going on. I think they're very well filmed and maybe not overly original in the way they're done, and it makes you feel sort of uneasy, but at the same time it's very fast paced and it's very exciting to watch. So I think they did handle that very well. It wasn't just like a big budget version of the Smack My Bitch Up clip from The Prodigy. I think the film also, and it seemed to be surprisingly an honest person, I think, from the point of view of the guy that wrote it, but I will expand on this more in the conclusion. Otherwise, just little bits and bobs that I liked were really. I did like the way that the film was very unflinching when it comes to talking about corruption in our political system. It just mentioned it as a fact that simply businessmen take it into account that you can just bribe army officials, government officials, and you just take that into account when you're calculating financial risk. I also like the Eastern European gangster character. He felt like a little nod to the main character in GJ4. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but if it was, and I thought that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, the Eastern European gangster had two sides to his character because he did bring along certain aspects of the film with him that I didn't particularly enjoy as much as I would have liked to. So this is a good little segue into the bad, I think. So I think, yeah, the stereotypical Eastern European gangster did embody, to me, one thing that was wrong with the film. Was that for me, the whole storyline with the Eastern European gangster and the mob and all that, and him getting involved in the main character's story, was completely and utterly disposable. I think the film would have been better if you just cut that piece out. And it was obviously just put in there to artificially create tension, and I think it made it quite boring. But then again, I mean, that being said, if those characters weren't there, it probably wouldn't have got the budget it got. It probably wouldn't have got the marketing it got. And hence, it probably wouldn't have got the success it's got. And therefore, I probably wouldn't have heard of the film. So, just take the good with the bad, I think, and just the realities of entertainment. And there are quite a few things like that that just are a bit, that are just annoying, and they do sort of because he makes these mistakes that you would think a really intelligent person would not make. Like, for instance, he keeps on having trouble accessing his pills in time. Well, why doesn't he just have several stashes? Or it's not like he won't be able to remember where they are. He can access every single memory in his mind. Another thing is, why does he hire those two stupid bodyguards when he realizes that gangster is going to be trouble for him? I mean, the bodyguards were utterly incompetent. He gave them clear instructions, they just didn't follow them right away. They were completely useless. Again, another stupid thing to just prove how, especially the Eastern European gangster was just there to create tension. I mean, he could have just gotten rid of that character very early on in the film. It was obvious he was going to be trouble. Why don't he just use his super intelligent powers to prove that he's guilty of some crime and get him to be locked up. There you go, that's easy. And yeah, that does hit on another aspect of the film that was bad, in my opinion, that could have been done much better. I think that was due probably to the screenplay in of itself, but I think the actor didn't do a great performance. Is I never really believed that he was actually a really intelligent guy. Like basically all he does when he's intelligent, he just gets much smarter, puts on a swanky suit, and starts basically just being this generic big shot who plays the stock market. He just came across more as a guy who was trying really hard to look intelligent, but not someone who genuinely was. I think he really came across as someone who is insecure and just feels the need to look clever without actually being clever. And a particularly good illustration of that is, that's just general advice too, if you can speak several languages, don't make a point of ordering in foreign languages in restaurants, because that just doesn't make you look clever, it just makes you look like a dick. Finally, this is one personal little nitpick, I suppose, but it's just I really wish, well, American writers would stop making these films on TV shows in New York all the time. It's just America's a big place. Can't you think of any other locations to tell your story? I know it's meant to be a great city, and I know obviously the writers probably live there. That's why they keep on writing about stories in that city. But can't you think of anywhere else where these things could happen? It would just like, especially in that film, there was really no need for the story to happen in New York. It had no impact on it whatsoever. It could have happened anywhere. The fundamental concept of the plot is that you have this pill, this plot device, whatever it is, that makes you extremely intelligent and makes you extra productive and means your potential is limitless. Essentially, that's the title. And I just found it a bit sad is that the main character, when he had access to this, when he had access to this potential, and he could literally accomplish so many things, and all he does is he just has sex with a load of women, makes a lot of money, gets some nice suits, and just becomes a stock market guy. And ultimately, his big ambition is to be the president of the United States. And I just think that's just so boring. You know, why not cure cancer? Why not cure HIV? Why not think of some brilliant solution that will stop world hunger, that will bring about world peace? I mean, there's literally so much stuff you could do. And all this main character can think of doing is just to become a generic, successful, big shot guy. Like, why do you even care about how people perceive you if you've got so much potential? Just do something amazing. And I think that could have added such another layer to the film if the writer, instead of just making him this generic big shot, actually made him just do something really unexpected and really amazing. Even if you want, okay, if you don't want to be like altruistic or some sort of generic do-gooder, I mean, you could just become this really amazing inventor that just comes out with all these really cool concepts that no one's thought before. You could just write. Like, he's writing a book, yeah. Why doesn't he write more? He's meant to be a writer originally. You would think that would be the thing that he would love doing. Why does he just write the best novel the world has ever known? Why doesn't he write the best piece of music anyone's ever heard? Why does he just write the ultimate film, the one that sort of makes The Godfather look like a soap opera? There's so much, literally, this limitless potential, and I just find what the main character does with it, and even it seems all the other characters in the story that have access to this drug, they just use it to make money. And that's such a shallow, superficial way of seeing things. So to conclude, I mean, and I think you can really just see this film on two levels, and I think you could probably watch it twice and just focus on two completely different elements of the film. Because I mean, on the one hand, it is unsurprising action thriller. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I found it thrilling. But at its core, it does have quite an interesting concept, and also it does deliver quite very well. It's a very well done, very professional piece of work. I think it's also very personal insight, maybe unintentionally personal, into into the character of the writer, and it is very honest. And the aspect of the failed writer, I think it is something that individual went through, because I've gone to it to a certain extent too, and it really just is the procrastination, the depression, just not having all these ideas but somehow not managing to get them to go anywhere on page, and it does seem very genuine. And then after you see that he basically, this writer just get this magic device that suddenly makes him a good writer, but also just turns him into this smooth talking, super cool guy. It just feels like it was just this fantasy the writer was having at some point, and the pill was just like this plot device to justify it. And that is very revealing. And as I said, I don't think what the guy does with this limitless potential is necessarily very pretty. Because ultimately, the answer to the question, what would you do if you had a limitless potential? If you answer that question honestly, it will say a lot about your character. And often maybe it will say things you don't particularly like about your character. And I think the person who came up with this story did answer this question very honestly and very frankly, and didn't try to glorify himself. So to sum up this review with one sentence,